She was caught online sexting her ex, claiming she was just keeping in touch, but her messages proved she's been cheating. I was still sitting on the edge of our bed with her laptop open on my knees when she walked out of the bathroom, towel around her hair, steam following her like a cloud. She was humming some song under her breath, scrolling on her phone, completely unaware that the entire version of our relationship in my head had just shattered. She saw me sitting there, saw the laptop, and then saw the chat window on the screen, her ex's name at the top, the last message from her still visible. "I can still feel you from last night," smirking face. Her whole body flinched. The humming stopped. The color drained out of her face so fast, it was almost fascinating in a detached way. My hands were shaking so badly, I had to grip the laptop to stop it sliding off my knees. "What are you doing?" she asked, voice too high and thin to sound normal. Her phone was still in her hand, the screen lighting up her fingers. I swallowed, my mouth dry, and forced my eyes away from the sentence that had been burned into my brain in the last 10 minutes. "You left your email open," I said. My voice sounded wrong, like it belonged to someone else. "And your keep in touch messages popped up." I turned the laptop so she could see everything, the thread of messages, her selfies, the stupid emojis. "So I just thought I'd see what keeping in touch looks like these days." It was a Thursday night. We'd been together 4 years, living together for 2 and a bit. I'm 30, she's 28. I'll call her Lena, because using her real name while I type this makes me feel like I'm back on that bed. I'm posting from a throwaway because some of our friends are Deegans who live on this app, and I'm not ready for the "Dude, is this you?" texts. We met at work, technically, but not in a messy way. I work in IT for a mid-sized company. She was in customer success for a partner company. We ended up on the same cross-team project, then at the same after-work drinks, and you can guess the rest. The early days were easy in that stupid, golden way you think will last forever. Long walks, long talks, both of us oversharing to the point of laughing about how oversharing it was. She told me about her ex early on. Daniel, high school to mid-20s. On again, off again, lots of drama. "He cheated," she said, picking at the label on her beer bottle. "Multiple times. And I kept taking him back because I was stupid, I guess." "You were young," I'd said. She shook her head. "I was addicted to the chaos. The highs, the lows. It was like a drug." Then she'd looked at me and smiled in this soft way. "You're calm. In a good way. I don't feel like I'm waiting for the next explosion with you." I remember feeling stupidly proud of that. Like being the calm one meant I was safe from all the things I'd always been afraid of. Being lied to, being cheated on, waking up one day and realizing I'd missed all the signs. Things progressed in a pretty textbook way. We did the dating for a year thing, talked about moving in, shared our neuroses about it, then did it anyway. We had our little routines. She'd make coffee in the morning. I'd cook dinner most nights because I actually liked chopping vegetables like a psychopath. Sundays were grocery shopping and cleaning and watching some trashy reality show to make ourselves feel better about our lives. We weren't perfect. We had fights about stupid stuff. Whose turn it was to deal with the garbage, whether it was normal to sleep with the TV on. She said yes. I said absolutely not. But in my head, those fights were just part of the wallpaper of being in a long-term relationship. If you'd asked me 6 months ago what I was worried about, cheating wouldn't have even cracked the top 5. It started small. It almost always does. I don't even remember exactly when she mentioned Daniel again. I think it was sometime around Christmas. We were at her parents' place, sitting on the deck with her sister while their mom fussed around the kitchen. Her sister was scrolling on her phone and went, "Oh my God, look, Danny shaved his head. He looks like an egg." Lena leaned over, laughed, and I, being a curious idiot, leaned in too. There he was, the famous ex. If I'd passed him in the street, I probably wouldn't have looked twice. Kind of basic attractive, gym selfies, the whole, here's me with a fish vibe. Later that night, in bed, she said, "It's so weird seeing him pop up after all this time." "Do you guys still talk?" I asked. "Not really," she said. "We follow each other on Instagram. It's mostly just random likes. We're civil." She shrugged, rolled over, and that was that. A month or so later, I noticed his name on her phone screen when she was scrolling. It was quick, just a notification banner, her thumb swiping it away, but my brain snagged on it for a second. "That your egg-headed ex?" I joked. She smirked. He replied to a story. "Calm down. I didn't think much of it. People have exes. People like things. It's 2025. Everyone has some digital zombie collection of people who used to matter. Then the lockdown happened. Not full on, but enough that we were both working from home more, seeing friends less. The days started blurring into each other. The same desk, the same Zoom calls, the same jog around the block to trick our brains into thinking we weren't just slowly fusing with the couch. Lena got restless. She's not built for monotony. I feel like I'm aging 10 years a week, she said one night, sprawled on the living room floor, phone above her face. There's nothing to do. Welcome to my world, I said, tapping away at whatever game I was pretending wasn't rotting my brain. She started reconnecting with people. Old school friends, uni friends, ex-coworkers. I could see the group chats multiplying on her phone. She'd laugh at memes, send voice notes, talk about people I'd never met like they were suddenly back in the room. And somewhere in that mess, Daniel slid in. At first it was stuff she told me about. Danny messaged me the other day, she said casually while we were making dinner. He's back in town. Says he might come to one of the old school catch-ups when things normalize. Oh yeah, I said, chopping onions. Yeah. She shrugged. It was actually nice. Like, we've both grown up. It wasn't flirty or anything. We were just talking about how dumb we were. I made some joke about being the upgrade. She kissed my cheek. We moved on. But then she started texting more. The screen that used to sit face up next to her on the couch was suddenly always angled away. The notifications that used to show up with names and pieces of messages became one new message. When I asked about it once, she said, I work in customer success. Clients get weird about privacy. I don't need my phone popping up their names when my screen's on my desk, you know? It sounded plausible. I let it go. Little things piled up. She started staying up later than me, sitting in the living room with the TV on low and her laptop open, catching up on emails. When I'd wake up at 2 a.m. and go get water, I'd see the glow under the door and her silhouette hunched over the keyboard. You're going to burn out, I told her one morning as she yawned making coffee. Just trying to stay on top of things, she said. We've got that massive rollout. My inbox is a nightmare. Then there were the selfies. She's always been someone who takes the occasional selfie, but suddenly I was seeing new outfits and poses that didn't seem like for the story once. Full length in the mirror in her work from home, but cute outfits, carefully angled shots of her on the couch. Even a couple I only saw because she left her phone on the coffee table while she went to the bathroom. You look nice, I said once as she perched on the arm of the sofa adjusting her hair while looking at her front camera. She laughed. It's called trying to remember I exist, she said. Let me be vain in peace. Again, plausible. Again, I swallowed the weird little feeling. The night it all blew up wasn't even meant to be dramatic. I'd just come back from my parents' place. They live about an hour away, and I'd gone over to help my dad set up some new router he bought because the salesman told him it would change his life. Lena had stayed home because she said she had a ton of end-of-month stuff to do and needed the quiet. When I got back, the lights in the living room were low. The TV was on the Netflix screensaver. Her laptop was on the coffee table, open, but the chair was empty. I could hear the shower running. Hey, I'm back, I called. Bathroom, she shouted over the water. Be out in a sec. I dropped my keys in the bowl by the door, kicked off my shoes, and flopped down on the couch. I was about to reach for the remote when her laptop chimed. That little bing sound that means someone has messaged on whatever platform she uses. I didn't move at first. It chimed again. Then a chat window popped up over her email. It was like my eyes were magnetized to it. I wasn't trying to snoop. I swear I wasn't. But when you see your partner's ex's name pop up and the message preview is, you wearing that thing I like? Winky face. Your brain is not going to be like, ah yes, time to avert my gaze. I watched the cursor blink. Another message appeared. Still thinking about last night. Wish I could taste you again. My stomach flipped so violently, I thought I might actually vomit right there on the carpet. My hand moved before my brain did. I reached out and pulled the laptop closer. The chat window expanded. On the left, Daniel's messages. On the right, Lena's. Plus a scroll bar that told me this wasn't some one-off thing. I scrolled up. At first it was flirty in that line-crossing but deniable way. Lena, can't believe you still remember that cafe on King St. Daniel, hard to forget when you looked that good across the table. Lena, stop face with tears of joy, you're such a flirt. Daniel, only with you. Then there was more. comments about what she was wearing, about things they'd done back then. Little, remember when, threads that made my hands go cold. It escalated slowly, the way a pot of water heats up. A compliment here, a suggestive joke there. Then suddenly a line like, "Lena, sometimes I think about that night at your parents' when you snuck into my room and my heart still races." He replied with details, places his hands had been, things she'd said. She responded, not shutting it down, feeding it, intensifying it. I scrolled faster. There were photo icons in the chat, little blurred thumbnails. I hovered over one. It was her. Our bedroom, same fairy lights behind her headboard, same sheets, but framed in a way I had never seen before. It wasn't pornographic, exactly, but it was unquestionably intimate. My chest felt tight, like someone had wrapped duct tape around my ribs. Messages from the last week had timestamps that lined up perfectly with the late-night emails she'd supposedly been sending. "Daniel, I'm hard just thinking about you in that shirt. Lena, maybe I should take it off then no evil monkey. Daniel, send proof. Lena, you're impossible. Daniel, you love it. Lena, yeah, I do." I don't know how long I sat there, eyes scanning line after line while my brain tried to reconcile the person on the screen with the person humming in the shower 20 feet away. It felt like reading some stranger's dirty chat, except every once in a while there'd be a reference to our apartment, or my schedule, or some fight we'd had, and it would slam back into focus that these were my life's details being used as props in someone else's fantasy. At some point, she turned the shower off. I heard the curtain slide, the squeak of the tap, footsteps on the tile. My heart started pounding again, harder this time. I didn't close the laptop. I didn't even minimize the window. I just sat there and waited. And then she walked out and saw me. The argument that followed was like pulling a thread on a sweater and watching your whole wardrobe disintegrate. First, she went straight to defensive. "Why are you reading my messages?" she demanded, wrapping the towel tighter around her. "Because your ex is texting you about how much he enjoyed last night," I said. That seemed relevant. "It's none of your business," she snapped, then realized how that sounded. "I mean, you shouldn't be going through my private stuff." "Is your private stuff cheating on me?" I asked. "Because then it's very much my business." "We didn't do anything," she said, too quickly. "It's just talking." "Talking about what, exactly?" I turned the laptop around again and tapped a line. "This." She looked like she wanted the ground to swallow her. "It's just sexting," she said finally, like that was somehow less insane to admit. "It's not real." "Sexting your ex," I said. "The same ex who cheated on you that you swore you were over. The same ex you said you would never go back to. The same ex you told me you were just keeping in touch with." She sank onto the arm of the sofa, towel slipping a little. Her whole body seemed to deflate. "It started stupid," she said. "I was bored." He replied to a story. "We were joking about getting old. Then it got flirty. I should have shut it down." "I know that. Why didn't you?" She stared at her hands. "Because it felt good," she said quietly. "It felt good to have someone want me like that again." That one hit me in a very specific, painful way. "Are you saying I don't want you?" I asked. "That's not what I—" "Because that's what it sounds like," I said. "Like you needed some external endorsement that you're still hot. And apparently your first call was your cheating ex." She rubbed her forehead. "It's not about you not wanting me," she said. "It's about— I don't know. We've been together a while. Things get routine. You see me in the most unflattering pajamas, with a face mask on, talking about laundry detergent. He sees me as this fantasy version. It's messed up. I know it's messed up, but I got hooked on it." "So this was a self-esteem project," I said, the bitterness probably radiating off me. "Got it." We circled around the "did you meet up with him" question for a long time. "I haven't seen him in person," she said. "Not since before we got serious." "Not once." "Not once," she insisted. "It's all been online." I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted that to be true. Because as horrible as the messages were, some dark, twisted part of me was thinking, at least you didn't sleep with him. Like that made this whole thing more survivable somehow. But even if I took her at her word, what was on the screen in front of me was not keeping in touch. It wasn't harmless flirting. It was a full-blown emotional and sexual affair, conducted through pixels and notifications, but affecting my real life all the same. We talked until our voices were hoarse. She cried a lot. I cried in these weird, random bursts where a sentence would catch in my throat, and suddenly there'd be tears. I kept swinging wildly between rage and grief and this numb, hollow feeling like I was watching a movie about someone else's life. She apologized. Over and over. She said things like, "I hate myself for this," and "I never meant for it to go this far," and "You have to believe I love you." Do I? I asked at one point. Because I'm having a hard time reconciling "I love you" with "I'm telling my ex I can still feel him." It's not that simple, she said. It kind of is, I said. In the days that followed, she went into damage control mode. She blocked Daniel on everything. She let me watch as she deleted their chats, though I took screenshots first, almost on autopilot. Not because I planned to show anyone, just because some part of me wanted proof that I hadn't imagined any of it. She offered access to her phone, her laptop, her socials. She suggested we go to couples therapy. She volunteered to sleep on the couch if I wanted space. "I'll do whatever it takes," she kept saying. "I don't want to lose you over something so stupid. Something so stupid that you kept doing for months," I said. "My therapist, if we get one, is going to have a field day with my self-sabotage," she muttered at one point, trying to make a joke. I didn't laugh. I told a couple of people. My best friend, Mark, who has known me since we were both ugly teenagers, and my sister, who has no filter but has been through her own relationship implosion. Mark was blunt. "Dude, that's cheating," he said. "I don't care if they never touched. She created a whole secret sex life with someone else. You really want to live with that?" My sister was more nuanced. "You need to figure out what you can live with," she said. "Not what Reddit says is forgivable, not what your mate at the pub would do. You." The thing is, she's right. Reddit loves absolutes. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Dump and block. Cheating is abuse. And look, I get the anger. If I saw my story written by someone else, I'd probably be in the comments yelling "run" in all caps, too. But sitting here in our half-unpacked living room, with the mug she bought me for my birthday, and the plant we picked together, and the cat that loves both of us equally, it's not that simple. I still love her. God help me, I do. When she burned her hand making dinner last week, my first instinct was to run and get ice, not to yell. Well, that's what you get. When she had a panic attack 2 nights after everything blew up, curled up on the bathroom floor shaking and hyperventilating, I sat there with her, counting breaths, because some part of me is still wired to care about her more than anything. That's what makes this so hard. Some days I wake up and think, we can work through this. People make mistakes. She's remorseful. We'll go to therapy, set boundaries, slowly rebuild trust. Other days I wake up and think, she chose this. Over and over. She chose him. She chose that hit of attention over my trust. Do I want to spend the next 10 years wondering whose DMs she's in? Our first couples therapy session was rough. The therapist was calm and unflappable in that way that makes you want to both hug them and throw a chair. She asked Lena why she thought she started sexting Daniel again. "It started as curiosity," Lena said, picking at the hem of her sleeve. "Like, who is he now? Is he still the same idiot?" And then I realized he wasn't. Not completely. He was saying all the things I used to want him to say. That he regretted how he treated me. That he always knew he'd messed up. And it tapped into this old, weird part of me that wanted that apology. Then it got sexual, and it was like, I don't know, 2 addictions at once. "And why didn't you tell me?" the therapist asked. "Because I knew it was wrong," she said immediately. Then, softer, "because I liked it and I knew he'd tell me to stop. And I didn't want to stop yet." It was like being stabbed and appreciated for the honesty at the same time. The therapist turned to me. "What do you need from Lena if you're going to even consider staying?" I thought about it for a long time. "I need to know this wasn't my fault," I said finally. "I need to stop automatically thinking. If I'd been more affectionate, more exciting, more something, she wouldn't have gone looking elsewhere. I need her to own that this was her choice, not some inevitable consequence of me being me." Lena started crying again. "It wasn't your fault," she said. "I know I've said that, but I'll say it 100 times. You didn't drive me to this. You don't deserve this." And I believe her on that, at least. I can list my faults in a neat bullet point list. Hello, avoidance of conflict, difficulty expressing needs, occasional depressive episodes. But none of them say makes partner cheat. So where am I now? Sleeping in the same bed most nights, but with this invisible wall between us. Some nights we talk until 1 a.m. about everything. About the early days, about where things went wrong, about what we both want from the future. Some nights we lie there in silence, backs turned, staring at opposite walls. I haven't forgiven her. I don't know if I ever fully will. Forgiveness feels like a mountain I can't see the top of yet. I haven't left, either. I've looked at apartments online. I've mentally divided our stuff more times than I can count. But when it comes down to actually packing a bag and walking out, something in me hesitates. Maybe that makes me weak. Maybe it makes me hopeful. Maybe both. If you've read this far, here's the only advice I feel qualified to give. As a guy who found out his girlfriend was sexting her ex under the guise of keeping in touch. Sexting counts. I don't care that there was no physical contact, if I take her at her word. The intimacy, the secrecy, the double life, it all lands in the same part of your brain. Don't let anyone minimize it as just words. Listen to your gut early. Those tiny moments, the face-down phone, the late-night emails, the sudden boost in selfies, they were all data points. I gaslit myself into thinking I was paranoid instead of just paying attention. You're allowed to not know what you want yet. Internet strangers love decisive endings. Real life is messy, eh? You can take time. You can change your mind. You can try to reconcile and later decide you can't. None of that makes you stupid. It just makes you human. She was caught online sexting her ex. Her mouth said it was just keeping in touch. Her messages, line after line, picture after picture, told me exactly what it really was. Now I'm stuck with the question they don't show you in movies. Not, is she cheating? But can I live with what I know? I don't have that answer yet. But at least I've stopped pretending the question doesn't exist.